Hi everybody, this is Amber again, back with another little video. And this video is just kind of meant to be watched after you read your assignment sheet for Unit Paper 1. And it's specifically designed to try to help you think of what your thesis could be. Because the other part of this assignment, or this module this week, will be you writing a thesis statement and really coming up with the basis, the background of your paper, I guess the structure of your paper. A lot of students groan when they hear this word thesis statement, and they think of stodgy academic writing, and they think of papers, and think of the 5-paragraph theme, which we've already talked about. But I would like to try to approach it with a little more optimism than that, and we'll talk about how and why. So when I ask students why they don't like them, often they say, oh, well, my professor always wants a different thing, or I had to write them too much in high school, or they just don't make sense to me. There are all kinds of reasons as to why. And if I had you in class right now, I'd ask you what your reasons are. But I might ask, if you have ever had a negative relationship with this concept of thesis statements, why is that? And if you have had a positive relationship, you feel like they're very helpful and they've helped you write papers, why is that? Did you have a professor or a teacher that made you feel better about them or taught you well? That kind of stuff. Always important to know why we're doing what we're doing. So yes, they're important. In college, we need to use them, particularly academic writing, and often sometimes in your professional career. Research-based persuasive papers, which you're going to be writing both in Comp 1 and Comp 2, you definitely need to have a thesis statement. Remember that all I'm really saying when I say thesis statement is, okay, what is the main idea of your paper? What is the main concept you're trying to get across? If you take away to one sentence, what is it about and what you're trying to get me to do? So all college papers, they have to have a point, so that's why we have them. And it helps to, though, if you can get it down to a sentence, it really helps to solidify the core ideas in the reader's mind, or the people that you're trying to persuade or to inform or whatever. In this paper, persuade. So this is specifically how to do it for Unit Paper 1. First, of course, if you looked back at the assignment sheet, what assignment Unit Paper 1 is asking you to do is focus on a particular issue concerning prison policies. So it listed, this is right, a screenshot from the assignment sheet of possible topics you could talk about. But the idea, sorry about that, the idea is simply that you're going to pick one. Because it's overwhelming to do more than one. And then once you pick the topic, we're going to talk about, well, what do you do with it. So if you, the stuff we listened to with Ear Hustle and like prison, like the literal confines of what prisons look like, if you wanted to talk more about the privatization of prisons based on what we saw in Orange is the New Black, if you would like to talk about the problem of juveniles in adult prisons that we read about in a couple of the essays this unit, any of that, feel free to pick an issue. Pick something that stuck with you. So I'm going to use this example that maybe a student wants to talk about private for-profit prisons. They found that interesting. They liked the Orange is the New Black episode, or we read that article comparing them, and they want to talk about that. What I would ask that student now is, well, okay, you picked private for-profit prisons, but what do you think about it? Like, these are all your ideas in your paper, and whatever we use as sources are just to back up your main ideas. So do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? Do you think we should get rid of them? Do you think we just need to change them? So you start to kind of parse out and see, like, well, what am I? What are my opinions? Hopefully I've asked this enough of you in class to get you to try to think about what you think about, but yeah, that's what I asked first. Let's say the student then says, okay, I just don't think that they're right. I don't think that they're helpful, and obviously I saw a lot of bad things happen to the prisoners based on this, so that's what I think. And from there I'd say, okay, perhaps instead of just saying for-profit prisons are bad, maybe we make it a little more academic, say maybe they need better regulation. And then so that would become the claim, which is the crux, the main part of the entire paper. And then your reasons are simply like, well, why? Why do they need better regulation? What's wrong with them? And that's where you would jump in and list some. Ultimately, it's a good idea to brainstorm several different reasons, thinking about how you might use the texts and the media that we've consumed in this unit to help support them, to support you. And from there, perhaps the student starts to kind of make this little list, and they could say like, well, I know for the diminished quality of life for prisoners, and I know that I could bring in that article from that Google slide deck that Amber showed in class, and I want to talk about Orange is the New Black. And maybe I can also start to think about, I could write there that perhaps that they encourage recidivism, or they treat people like commodities, and that's not cool because we start to see people as not people anymore. So those are all my reasons I could think about. In the end, you're going to try to pick the best reasons, the ones that you could support the most with evidence and that you have the most to say about, because honestly, it's your ideas, your paper. So we all know that usually papers are ordered, kind of going back to that 5-paragraph theme, based on reasons, and they should be in the same order as your thesis. I'm going to say that that's a really good way to do it for this paper, just because this paper is a little more complex. I'm asking a lot of you for this first go around. However, if you feel like that's not your, like you want to have more of a personal angle or tell it more like a narrative, you can talk to me and ask me about doing it in a different structure. But ultimately, if you're not trying to think too much outside the box, you would order your paper based on those reasons. And we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. In the end, I just want you to think about thinking in this paper. I know maybe you don't know anyone in prison. I know that maybe these readings were boring to you. I know that maybe you were offended maybe by Orange is the New Black, or were bored during ear hustle or whatever. But the thing is that these issues affect people and affect the families of people every day, even people that have committed crimes. And really, the way we discipline our citizens says a lot about us as a society. And is you a part of that society. So I want you to try to think more for yourselves. Be brave enough to have ideas and opinions on things that maybe you didn't know a lot about in the beginning. So this is you just thinking more, because that's why you're here. This is college. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to ask, but know that for the last part of this module, you will be writing your own thesis statement, and there will be a little kind of prompt to help you do that. Thanks, guys.